As you enter lesson 5.4, you're going to be seeing a subject pronoun and a conjugated verb, conjugated according to that subject, in written form for the first time. Now, as you know by this point, subject pronouns can, generally speaking, be dropped from a statement. They won't be dropped if they'd cause confusion in the mind of your listener. For example, if you said, vive en Los Angeles, and that was the first statement you said in the conversation, the listener wouldn't know if you're speaking to them formally and saying you live in Los Angeles, or if you're saying he lives in Los Angeles, or she lives in Los Angeles. But assuming that you've established about whom you're speaking, and your listener knows about whom you're speaking, you can drop subject pronouns from a statement. And of course, the same will apply to a written statement. You can drop the subject pronoun as well. However, from lessons 5.4 through 5.15, just so that you become familiar with the spellings of the subject pronouns, I'm going to insist that you write your exercises and the answers to your tests with the subject pronoun included in written form. And you'll see that the correct answers that I give you to the exercises you'll do, as well as to the test you'll take, will include the subject pronouns. Now, there's one exception. When the exercise or the test item is a question, I will not include the subject pronoun because it will simply, it's too awkward in Spanish to use the subject pronoun in the midst of a question. Let's say, for example, ¿trabajas tú en una tienda? When trabajas is sufficient. In a question, it simply sounds too awkward. However, again, there's an exception here. When usted and ustedes are used, I will, in a question, write the usted or the ustedes, and you should too. So rather than saying, habla español, I want you to write, and I will give in the correct answers, habla usted español. Now, the reason for the difference with usted and ustedes, why I will actually go ahead and write them in a question, is because they may be conveying an attitude of respect toward the person with whom you're speaking. And you want to maintain that attitude of respect, that the use of usted conveys that respect toward your listener. And so I'm going to continue writing in a question the usted or the ustedes subject pronoun. However, just to reiterate, in a question, with the exception of usted and ustedes, you will not see the subject pronoun written as I provide you with the correct answers. Okay, let me try and encapsulate all that to make sure you've caught it. From lessons 5.4, starting today, through 5.15, I will always use the subject pronouns in my written correct answers, even though they don't have to technically be present. However, if I'm writing a question for the correct answer, I will not include the subject pronouns in written form. They'll be too awkward, except usted and ustedes, because they may be conveying respect. And I'll talk more about this before lesson 5.16, this issue of respect and the conveying of respect by the use of usted in particular. But for now, just remember that usted and ustedes will appear. And you should write the subject pronouns in your exercises and in your tests for all forms except for questions other than with usted and ustedes. Well, I think you'll catch on as you get involved in these lessons. If you do fail to write a subject pronoun, it's not too critical. You'll have to just check with your teacher to see if they would consider that an error or not. I probably would for lessons 5.4 through 5.15. Okay, I'll talk to you again soon. You may go now to lesson 5.4.